Welcome back, everybody. World Championship Series here. My name is Apollo, if we're going to get into more detail. I'm joined with Pig, Aussie, oi, oi, oi. Claris is here, everyone. You've been enjoying your casting time. You've been casting a lot of games over these last couple of days. I haven't had you up here too much.
No, it's been fun over back in the other room. It's actually quieter, so it's peaceful.
And it's a lot cooler, I would imagine.
Yeah.
It does get quite warm, especially yesterday when we had a lot of people.
Yeah, that's why I can wear my jacket and keep myself warm in there. It's all right.
And now you're back in here and going to have some thoughts on our next match that we got upcoming. It's time for the winners match. And it is going to be FireCake in France versus iaguz in Australia. That's the Pig. And I've talked to you before we went live with this. You've both got opinions on who you think's going to win and hopefully why, because I didn't give you time to think of reasons. Claris, who do you think's winning this and why? And then I'd like a counter argument from you, Pig, after.
All right. I have two things. I have an in-game reason why you can win it, and I have a theoretical reason why you can win it.
Who's going to win it?
So, FireCake is going to win.
Okay, and why?
Well, because FireCake at the moment is a well-rounded player now, I feel. I keep saying this every time I'm casting him because he just is in general. And also I feel that him as a Zerg player, I feel that he's had more experience on an international stage and more experience against very, very strong Terrans. Of course, iaguz is strong, but he has been isolated for the most part, I feel. Have you finished yet? I mean, you looked at Pig in a way that you were suggesting it's your turn, buddy. I did do that. Have you finished? No. Okay, keep going. So, obviously, also, the English have been able to fight against the French in quite a few wars. So we know the ferocity of the French pretty well. And also... I don't think this applies to StarCraft. No, it does. And also, I have to work alongside Todd quite a lot as well. So I definitely know the ferocity of the French. So I'm going to take that into account. Okay, thank you, Claris, for your argument. Your turn, Pig. Why is iaguz going to win?
iaguz is a beast. And not just physically with that masterful manly beard, but in-game. And I think his style, it's going to match up well against FireCake's. Simply put, FireCake's a very defensive player at the start of the game, and iaguz is a very greedy player. I think it's going to work out well for him. He's a macro god. I think if iaguz has a weakness, it's a Zerg that's going to get up in his grill and force him to make mistakes. I don't think FireCake's going to do that. I think iaguz is just such a strong macro player. He's kind of like got that endless stream of units. He's got a streak of bomber in him. I don't know if FireCake's going to be able to handle those overwhelming number of Terran units.
Okay, well, I see both sides of the argument. I'm not going to put anything in this. I'm the host. I'm allowed to just step back away from this one. We'll let you guys at home decide on which side you think is going to win. It's time to look at the maps here, Pig. We have the map list order. You're a Zerg expert. You're a resident professional. Unfortunately, you couldn't be playing here today, but you're going to give us your expert opinion nonetheless. What do you think about these maps in this map pool?
Very interestingly, Expedition Lost is first up. We'll talk about that in just a moment, as that is a tricky map for Terran. So it makes sense that FireCake would pick that. Of course, iaguz picking Echo for the second map. It's a very strong map for mech, but it's just generally a pretty good map for Terran. Once the Zerg has to move out to take a fourth base, they start to get quite spread out. It's quite decent for dropping, but just the frontal pushes become very strong there. And of course, Coda being the decider, it's that, captain generic, quite standard map. So if it does go to map 3, we're going to be seeing a very balanced map, a very even game. I think it's almost definitely going to be a battle for the creep spread, a battle for the fourth base, very strong macro play there.
I hope we see all three maps then, based on what you've said there. But Expedition Lost then, let's talk about map number 1. Why is it so technical? Why is it so tricky? Talk to me, why?
Reapers are not very good when they can't get in the Zerg's base, and if we know anything about ZvT or TVZ from the Terran perspective, in the last year or two, the Reapers are one of the core parts of opening up. But on Expedition Lost, there's no back door, there's no fancy little ledge. Instead, there's just a little pile of dust and browder rocks sitting at the back, but Reapers can't get through that. So without the Reapers being able to harass, it kind of limits the Terran's options. They can still do a Reaper opening, but it puts a lot less pressure on the Zerg. So perhaps on this map, the Terran is forced to do something like a command center first or so on. However, for Zerg, it's quite easy if they can get through that opening phase, get the third base up, and really Zerg's quest in Zerg vs. Terran is let's not have any hiccups. Let's get a lot of drones, and once we're in that strong position, then we're going to be very comfortable.
All right, thank you very much for your opinion on the maps there. So let's move on to the next part of the discussion. Let's start talking a little bit about FireCake then. You talked about his ferocity, you've seen his success over the last couple of seasons and months within the World Championship Series. Has he got what it takes, not just today? And let's go on your side of things and assume that he wins this and goes on to represent France in Toronto. Can he get deeper than just being at Toronto in the season finals this year?
That's a good question. I think that getting any further than like the 9th through 12th spot that he got last season is a push. It's a push. The talent that we have here in the WCS at the moment is very, very strong. And whilst FireCake does see himself as like at the upper echelons of Zerg players in the European scene, maybe not against the entire talent pool that we see here in the WCS at the moment.
He claimed, I don't know if you heard the winner's interview before, he claimed he's one of the best Zergs in Europe.
Yeah,
So he's
I heard
got
that
a lot of
part.
self-confidence. And
Yeah, and I would say that's probably quite accurate, to be honest with you. I mean, he has made himself a mainstay here in Premier League. Nobody can really dispute that now, especially with how he performed in Season 1 as well. So it's going to be interesting. I think he can still do it. Do you really think that iaguz is going to be able to deal? Because the way in which FireCake actually showed his games against Massa, it wasn't anything gimmicky, it wasn't anything cheesy, it was just straight up play.
one of the things he said in his winner video as well is that he kept things away from not being shown, that he had a couple of tricks up his sleeve which he was saving and didn't want to use them too early.
I think in that first series, what we really saw, I think, was a little bit of mistakes from Massa's hand and not playing to his best. I think every game we've seen from Massa, he's stepped up. And in that most recent game we saw, he was playing up on the same level and even beyond. So I think that's not really necessarily the best thing to go by. I do think that was a very telling point though. Maybe he has some tricks up his sleeve. And I was saying earlier, iaguz likes to just do his own thing. Maybe some tricky roach baneling, something like that, could mess with this guy. But I don't know, if you've got that looking down at you, that look like, I would be afraid right now if I was FireCake.
He's been inspired.
If only he could have held that until the very end there when the camera was gone, because then he started smiling, I lost all my fear.
You know, it must be a Polish thing. iaguz actually of Polish descent as well, so him and Mana sharing some characteristics there.
Yeah, I had a couple of words with iaguz earlier, and he said he was looking at potential options to move to Europe in the future, looking at next year, so he can continue to improve on where he is today, as a golden opportunities arose here, and he's got to seize the moment, right? This is the time that iaguz goes to the top 16 and plays at the season finals on stage, representing Australia, which everyone from, I mean, when I was a competitor way back when, representing your countries, there's nothing bigger than that in competition.
I think it would be his best result of all time, right? If he makes it to the round of 16 on an international stage, I think that would be absolutely momentous for iaguz here. And then, obviously, if he wants to move over to the European side of things, then he has a lot of room, actually, to improve as a player, develop as a player, because Europe's pretty deep, man.
All right, well, thank you very much, gentlemen, for your thoughts on this series. We'll see which one of you is going to be right or wrong, depending on the winner of this. Might be on Kalaris' side a little bit. Sorry, Pig. Guys, it's time to go into the winners match. Your commentary team for this one is Todd and Rotterdam.
Thank you very much, gentlemen at the desk. We are ready for our fourth series of the day. Who is going to win this group, Todd, and who's going to have to go one more series against Massa? I know you're French. Is it going to be FireCake?
Well, I mean, if you look at the first two series from both of these players, I think FireCake was a lot more convincing, man. He made Massa look like a diamond leaguer. I'm sorry, but it was really one-sided.
Yeah, I know. It was definitely
no offense to the diamond leaguers.
We've all been in Diamond League. There was a time I was very proud of it, Todd. I remember my first Diamond promotion. Back then, Diamond was actually the highest league. Some people may not know about this, but the current league system that we have has not always been the same. There was a time that Diamond was the highest division.
Yeah.
Things
have changed.
That was the last time I was ever Diamond. Just kidding. We are getting ready to hop into our fourth series of the day. Expedition Lost is going to be our very first map. I'm excited for this one. I think FireCake is going to have to work a lot harder for it against this man. Spawning in the left bottom side of Expedition Lost. Representing Root Gaming, he is iaguz.
We all saw that. His opponent starting in the top right-hand side, playing for Team Punchline. It is FireCake. FireCake, who said in an interview that he wanted to hide his builds. It's funny, actually. Like, I mean, if you look at the like if you saw his first few games, it looked like he was just, you know, playing his own style, playing standard and just doing it well. But according to him, he wasn't showing everything because he knew he most likely would have to play iaguz later on.
Yeah.
Didn't even give his rival Mana the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah. No, but I mean, or maybe he was worried about Mana. Maybe he thought he would run into Mana in the winners match. Like, I think there is one big difference. Like, FireCake could mean that in many ways. That can still be his go-to style, but he played it very safe, very conservative in his first series of the day, and yet he was able to steamroll his opponent. But he must know as well, iaguz has probably been watching that series, and iaguz has already been talking a little bit about it with Pick. Of course, some Australian pride going on over there, and you can expect iaguz to look at that and make a few adjustments. If he already had a game plan, then he might just tweak it a little bit. He's like, well, FireCake plays, you know, that's safe, that conservative, he's going to make those roaches. I'm going to play super greedy myself. And if that's the case, well, then there is, of course, always a chance that FireCake is going to do something completely different.
Actually, FireCake goes pull first every single game versus that old school joke. Never gets old. But yeah, he goes pull first every single game and then into hatchery. If you think about it, if you go for command center on the low ground, you know, links can get you in trouble. Command center on the high ground, you're going to be okay, but then you have no potential for like denying creep or anything like that because your take's going to be late. Looks like this game so far, we're at 14 supply for iaguz and there was no gas made just yet. I think he's just going to go barracks into command center, build up his own economy and know that he's going to be safe against the Zerglings.
Yeah, I'm expecting very quick triple orbital over here by iaguz. Even though this is a tricky map for it, right? Expedition Lost, that is a map where we often see Zerg players strike a little quicker than they would on some of the larger maps in the current map pool. And that is an option. But, you know, FireCake, he could take this many ways as well. Instead of making 5 roaches, maybe he just makes a single roach or 2 roaches. Or he's going to actually make way more roaches. He's definitely going to switch it up a little bit. He's aware of the fact, all right, my opponent has seen my games. He's probably been thinking, what would I do against that style? Well, let's not make it too easy on my opponent. Let's at least switch it up a little bit. Or he's just that confident that he just keeps on doing it and that he just thinks like, you know, I'm better than these guys, so I can tell them what I'm going to do. They may know what I'm going to do, but it doesn't mean they can deal with this.
Yeah.
Because, you know, execution at the end of the day matters the most in StarCraft II.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. The fact that FireCake seems to go, you know, very safe and for roaches every single time, you don't have to go for Hellbats. Just, you know, play a little bit greedier. Obviously not too greedy, because otherwise, you know, it might backfire if FireCake was to do some kind of attack. But iaguz, I do think here in this series, or at least I hope so, that he's going to be doing better than Massa.
Yeah, he's going for a gasless fast expand over here, and I'm not too surprised by that. A lot of Terrans, of course, have already expressed their, you know, let's say that they're not too pleased with Expedition Lost. This is one of the worst maps out there for Reapers. There is only one way into the main base.
Yeah.
When this map got introduced, everyone's like, ah, cool, you can hop via, you know, where the rocks are, and you can hop out, right? Well, no, wrong. There's actually no access over there for Reapers because it's blocked everywhere. So this makes it a very awful Reaper map. And that's why, you know, Terran vs Protoss, Terran vs Zerg, you just don't really see a whole lot of Reaper action on this map.
I wonder which third base iaguz would take here. We've seen actually a gold base earlier being used or being attempted.
Yeah. Major was that, right? Or which day was it? I think it was Major. Anyway, I mean, the idea of that was very cool, but it was not good enough in the long run. I don't think that we're going to see that. He will most likely just take it at 6 o'clock position on this map. So far, FireCake is...
By the way, third orbital, or third command center at first. I'm gonna go down real
Well,
quick.
yeah, this is just super greedy, super economic. I actually didn't even expect it this greedy. I kind of thought he was gonna go gasless fast expand because this is a bad map for Reapers. Then, you know, get a little bit of gas, get 2 Hellions out just to have some map presence, and then drop that third orbital pretty much immediately. But, you know, there is no more economic opening than the one that iaguz is currently going for. FireCake, this Overlord is gonna get pushed into the main base anyways, so there is a very good chance he will. Well, 3 Marines have a lot of DPS. 4 Marines, is he gonna spot it? No, I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Wow.
Gets supply blocked here. FireCake already started 2 Overlords. And iaguz here very nicely adjusting to the style of FireCake already, I have to say.
But I like what Funka's trying to show us over there as well. He did click on it and he did have vision of that building. And I wonder if FireCake had time to click on it and realize that that was a second barracks and that was not a factory. Because if that's another barracks, then there is a very good chance that this is indeed a super greedy opening from our Terran. We'll see if FireCake makes 4 or 5 roaches without doing anything with them, then it's pretty obvious that he did not put the pieces in the right place. But if he just has his Roach Warren over here for a later phase in the game, but for now makes nothing but drones, maybe even goes up to 3 hatcheries very quickly, then he did put the pieces in the right place. And I believe a drone is heading out. So this, just excellent game sense over here by FireCake.
Yeah.
Didn't see everything, but he saw enough.
Droning up like a madman right now. The thing with this, though, as good as the economy of iaguz is going to be, there's not going to be any creep denying happening anytime soon. And we've seen how scary that creep spread for FireCake was in the previous game and how hard it can be to engage into banelings or just, the ground army in general that he gets. 3 roaches are being made.
Yeah,
Why?
I think it's just for the first few Hellions, but he's not making 5, and I don't think he's going to make 5 either. He could have delayed this word a little bit because the Hellions are not even out yet, but well, he's making another one. We'll see though. We'll see how FireCake plays this one out. I was thinking about this earlier because of course there was a while that FireCake, he was known as the Swarmos player, right? After Stefano pretty much stopped playing, there was no bigger Swarmos player in Europe than FireCake. There's always a lot of people think like, well, he can only do Swarmos, and that's in general wrong, because even when you get very good with a certain style, as abusive as some people may call it, the mechanics that you build up while doing a style like that, they will carry over to different playstyles as well. And I think, with Swarmos, obviously creep threat is extremely important, and you can see how good he is with it, even when he plays a completely different style, when he has faded away from the heavy Swarmos, mostly of course because the Swarmos does change so much, but the mechanics, the fundamentals, they are definitely there and they won't go away.
It's funny because FireCake's APM isn't even that high, but somehow his creep spread and injects are really, really good. Look at this.
For a Zerg, that's
like a Protoss player.
Yeah, I was about to say that's about my average there.
It's below my average. Yet he has the map covered in creep and he's not missing a beat with the injects.
It's all about being extremely effective with it. Now, what I like is that Pimber, I want to call him Pipik, I want to call him Bomber, because he was mentioning Bomber, and I call him Pimper. That's really strange. Anyway, what Pig mentioned is that iaguz has a little bit of Bomber in him, right? That, he can just stream units across the map. And I think this style is pretty much that. You focus only on economy, and on a certain point, your explosion, it just, or your production, it just explodes. And then you're just going to produce a ridiculous amount of units.
Does he not care about the creep just like Bomber, or does he scan for it? I mean, at this point, it feels like he needs like 5 scans to clean the entire middle and tumors, and that means also like that he's gonna have to take on the army of FireCake. I really feel like the weakness of FireCake's build is that he gets mutas so late. I really think that with like some multi-pronged harassment, you can start doing some damage.
I think that's some you over there. There is a good point, but I don't think that iaguz is going to go for it. I feel that this is one of these games where once he starts attacking, he will never stop. It's going to be a parade push down the middle of the map, and it's extremely important for iaguz that he's not going to lose a fight. Because if he loses all of his units that are going to be out on him, like look at this production total, it's going to be insane, absolutely off the charts. So this is going to be one attack that is pretty much make it or break it. There's a very good chance that this attack will last 3, 4, 5 minutes even, because reinforcements, there will be trades, but once iaguz gets pushed back for real, then I think he's in a lot of trouble. So he just needs to keep on the pressure, and from this point on, the splits, the pre-splitting even is going to be extremely important, and iaguz never wants to retreat.
Yeah, I think what he wants to prevent, obviously, is that first base from going up and being saturated. But right now, it's run by in the third base. There was no bunker there, or no units. So SCVs are going to start dying. He's already lost 6. Very nicely done and well timed here for FireCake. The 4th base got cancelled, but iaguz needs to be careful. It's only 2 medivacs for a lot of units on the ground.
Man, these Zerglings are just ravaging everything over here. I'm very surprised by the amount of damage that these few Zerglings are doing. Of course, iaguz has to pay attention to this army. I mentioned it before. It's extremely important that he wins the first big engagement, and I don't think he's going to, Todd. Look at how close these banelings are to these Marines. Yeah, but still, this is not what he wants. He's taking economic damage, and right now he had to re-rally all of his reinforcements.
Yeah.
He wants to keep on the pressure. But the silver lining here is that he did cancel that 4th hatchery.
The Spire here starts at the 12th minute mark. And right now, FireCake is actually moving across the map. I think he realized that there is still units in Medivac outside on the map, so iaguz not going to have too much back at home. There's 2 Widow Mines there. Oh, the friendly fire?
A little bit, not too much. I'm a little bit surprised that FireCake goes for this a couple of seconds before baning speed is ready. He's going to lose the majority of these roaches. Well, actually, iaguz doesn't have that much left, but he still has a few Widow Mines behind this. Careful there. Well, these Zerglings actually causing a little bit of trouble. Where are all the Marines of iaguz? I feel like he should have more. He has 50 army supply. I just don't see it. I guess most of it is in production because he has so many Rexes that the supply count can be a little bit deceiving. But FireCake just not giving iaguz the time to stabilize. And look at the creep spread, like you mentioned. You don't need 300 APM for this, Todd.
This is insane here. FireCake still producing a lot of units, but he's starting to have a lot of minerals actually, and gas as well. He's adding on 2 more hatcheries.
What?
Even though he got a macro hatch in the main.
The orbital died.
Oh, he never lifted it up. I noticed that the Zerglings were attacking it, but I fully expected iaguz to lift this up, and now, I mean, he's on the rope, surely. Like, he has to attack and all in. Like, you can't just sit back and try to come back in macro game against a Zerg who's already on 3 base, even 4.
But this is so scary as a Terran. He has 0 map vision. He has no idea what's ahead of him. He has no idea where the units are.
Yeah.
And he's just being surrounded by creep. Here come the Banelings. The Banelings going to absolutely massacre all of these Marines, all of these Marauders. And after losing the 3rd orbital thought, that can almost be game over. I really feel that if iaguz wants to win this game, it has to happen in the next minute.
Yeah.
But with all these Mullers gone away, all these Zerglings, and soon a few more Banelings, and the 2-2 upgrade.
He had quite a bit more army supply, but he lost a lot there to those Banelings by just, you know, clumping up against the wall. Oh, if he can fight before the Banelings are morphed here, he's going to need some good splits. I don't think there's going to be enough leftover anyway for iaguz to finish. He's in trouble.
And the macro FireCake is so good, Dottie. It's always so many units out on the map, and GG is called. FireCake takes game number 1, pretty convincing, off the back of a little bit of counterplay. You know, not something we saw too much in his first series, but here the very first time that iaguz moved out, once more, very strong economic opening, but obviously no pressure early on. So the very first time he moves out, he wants it to be one big powerful punch, but it wasn't, because he was distracted at home. There were Zerglings picking, you know, nibbling away, as Kalaris would say, and all his SCVs, getting 10, 12 SCVs, and then at the same time he was not able to get the trades on the left top side of the map that he was looking for, and he didn't want to defend. He wanted to be the aggressor. When you focus that much on economy early on, the moment that your production starts rolling, you want to start attacking and you want to use your economy, but he wasn't able to do that.
Yeah, I think maybe the big problem was, you know, when he moved out on the map the first time, there was too many Banelings and he had only too many vacs to pick up the units, so a lot of them started dying. It's almost like, you know, the only way I can relate to this being a Protoss is when you want to do an all-in, you move out, and then a few of your very first units, they start getting sniped, be it, you know, the sentries or stalkers. And then you have a lot less units than you would have otherwise if you had played a little bit safer. I think that's really what was missing here for iaguz against the FireCake, who's ridiculously good against Terran. I have to say, I'm so impressed. Like, after some of these games, like, I'm starting to consider to call the greatest creep spread the FireCake creep spread, not the Scarlet one anymore.
Well, he's definitely looking very good so far. Will our French Zerg be able to ace this group and advance without dropping a single map? We will find out after the next very short commercial break. Welcome back to WCS Premier League Group G action as we are in our 4th series of the day, and FireCake is just one map win away from acing this group, not dropping a single map and making back-to-back appearances to the round of 16 in WCS Premier League. But he's not there just yet, Todd. He has to win on Echo first.
And possibly being the 3rd French player onto the round of 16. What's happening, man? We're taking over.
I know. Right now it's even between our countries. There are 2 Dutchies and 2 Frenchies, but it's starting to look very good for FireCake. Even if iaguz would somehow turn this around, somehow end up winning this series, I must say the way that FireCake has been playing, like I would still give him very good shots in the final series of the day as well against the other Root Terran that's still alive. As of course, the loser of this series will move on to play against Massa in the deciders match of Group G. We are pretty much good to go. Our map is going to be Echo, like I mentioned before. How are you liking this map in TVZ so far, Todd?
I think to me, like Echo, no matter what the matchup, plays very similarly to Coda. Do you feel the same?
Yeah.
You know, the way the overlays and all that, like taking a third base and securing it in terms of, you know, having a wall of depot and a bunker there is really going to help. But regardless of that, I'm really surprised last game that iaguz didn't go for that one bunker on the third base. I think he probably thought that FireCake wasn't going to run by. He was just going to focus on the defense. But that first juggling run by already put him in a lot of trouble.
Yep, it did way too much damage, and not just the damage as well. Once we mentioned, like we mentioned before, it also forced iaguz to take care of those zerglings on the south side of the map, which made his pressure on the left top side a lot weaker. He was forced to, you know, rally the units that were coming out that he wanted to make his main push a lot stronger with. He was forced to send it to that orbital, and from that point, things just went from bad to worse for this man spawning in the right bottom side of Echo. He is representing Root Gaming. He needs your support. It is iaguz. He's always quite pleased when he hears the people cheer. He's like, yeah, that's probably for me. Like, I'm not sure. It could be for my opponent as well, but in case the camera is on me, Todd, let's just pretend it's for me.
And his opponent, starting in the top left-hand side corner, possibly being the 3rd French player onto the round of 16. It is FireCake.
You know, Todd, with all the success that your nation is having, I think it's time for you to pick the mouse back off and fire lock in Season 3. Blow the dust off a little bit, like, and just go for it.
Like there is dust on my mouse. Come on. I'm still using it every day and playing ladder.
It's true. But, you know, it's just a metaphor, Todd.
I don't wanna tarnish the French flag with my poor performance in tournaments. It's really good to see like all these guys doing so well too. Like it's pretty, like it's like one of each race too.
Yeah, that's actually very. I didn't even think about it. Of course, the other 2 Frenchies that have already advanced to WCS Premier League round of 16 are Lilbao and Marine Lord. Lilbao, of course, being the Protoss, Marine Lord being the Terran. Yeah, man, taking over, Todd.
France is the new Korea, man. All the players are so good and they play each other a lot that they get better.
I mean, Germany always had a kind of a strong regional scene, but in the international events, they haven't really done that well yet. But of course, yesterday we did have Dario winning his group, and tomorrow we have one more German Protoss making his appearance as well. I think first time offline, right, for Kung Fu Panda?
Yes.
And tomorrow is going to be awesome. Tomorrow, of course, is the Protoss Madness group and the one and only Jaedong. Already met a lot of fans over the last few days as well that are very excited to watch Jaedong play. And you know, Todd, no matter how many times I've casted Jaedong or I've met him at events, it's always a little special when you know the Dong is about to show what he's capable of.
iaguz doing something a little bit weird, don't you think? Like he's getting a Reaper, but he didn't mind 50 more gas to get the reactor behind this. Do you think another 3rd CC here?
It's very possible that he goes for a triple orbital once more. I'm a little bit surprised that he decides to drop his orbital on the high ground. Maybe he's worried about one of these early pool openings from FireCake, where FireCake rallies a couple of zerglings in a weird way that avoids the Reaper.
And because he went for just one Reaper too, like he's not going to have a second one at home to defend. He started mining gas again.
Yeah, supply depot was a little bit late there for iaguz. A few seconds being supply blocked. Couldn't start his Marine in time, couldn't start his SV in time. Maybe getting a little bit nervous as well.
Okay, Spore gonna be forced here immediately. Queen's is in production now on the natural, but it only now just started.
You know what I wonder? How well a triple Reaper opening would do against FireCake, because you know he's going gasless in the majority of his games, and of course he does produce a lot of Queens, and Queens can be pretty effective in dealing with Reapers. But we've also seen it snowball out of control if you open up with 3 Reapers.
Wow. Yeah, 1 Reaper already doing so much, forcing like so many extractors, getting a snipe on that drone. So yeah, 3 Reapers maybe. Or what about a proxy Reaper?
Yes.
Wow, your smile here was definitely evil.
Well, we all know, Todd, that if I would be a Terran in an alternate universe,
The Roddy build would be proxy Reaper, not proxy Tempest.
yeah, lots of buildings would be placed outside of my main base, that's for sure. Man, it's something I just want to think of. Anyways, once again, it's a very strong economic opening for iaguz.
Yeah.
So any bit of economic damage that he's getting done here, guys, early on, you know, whether it's that one drone kill or forcing those units to morph into a building temporarily, that's very nice for iaguz, because he's going for one of the strongest Terran openings when it comes to economy in the book. It's not as economic as the one in the last game. Like, that was ridiculous, going, you know, gasless into orbital, into another orbital. But this is still very, very, very much so focused on the economy. And that's just kind of the read that he made after watching FireCake in his first series of the day. That's probably kind of what Pick told him as well. It's like, well, if you play against a Zerg like that, that plays as safe as FireCake does and as conservative as he does, you know, just be a very greedy Terran.
Yeah, but I mean, you can play as greedy as you want against FireCake. As long as he gets to his drone count and he has his creep spread going, he just doesn't seem to even get scared of anything.
You know what I think is one of the best things about FireCake is that he seems to be very on top of his injects pretty much at any given moment. It doesn't really matter how the game is going. His money is almost always low, and if it isn't, then most of the time it's on purpose, because he's either going for Hive or, you know, in the last game he was saving up some gas for Mutalisk. But he always has enough units either on the way or just running around on the map. He really seems to be on top of his injects. His macro, even in that game on Vani early today, the guy had 93 drones. He just maxed out at absolute rapid pace, and then he just started spraying, and he was always maxed out.
I think you realize what's happening here, by the way, and 10 roaches were made. There is no bunker across the map. iaguz is pushing the grid to the next level, man. He's gonna see the roaches now, but I mean, it's 3 Marines and 4 Hellions against 10 roaches that are gonna start matching across the map.
Yeah, there's still no bunker, like you mentioned. Okay, the first depot is going down right now. There is a bunker on the way as well. The Marauder is halfway down. As soon as he has that one Marauder, that's kind of like the anchor Marauder.
Oh, the Hellions!
Yeah, the
They wanna
Hellions are going to try to
counterattack.
counterattack, but the Queens are in position and 2 Roaches helping them as well. Very well done by FireCake.
If he can kill some SCVs here across the map, while he's building up his drone count even more.
Raise? Yeah, I would definitely raise it. I actually think that iaguz is going to be more than fine over here, Todd. Like, he has that one Anchor Marauder already. The bunker is not in the best position, I feel. I'm not sure if it's always going to be able to attack the majority of these roaches, but just losing a little bit of mining time, that's not all that bad. 10 roaches, that is a significant investment over here for FireCake. That's not something that you can scoff at.
Yeah, but he's still doing a fantastic job of squeezing out more and more drones. Oh, he blocked. I don't know what happened. He canceled one of the building that he was getting down his ramp here and got a Baneling Nest instead. So it's going to be still, you know, the same few roaches into Zergling Baneling with a pretty late Lair and Spire. Imagine you go Cloak Banshee against him.
Yeah, extra. Well, we saw that on Vani, right? 21 drones. That's more drones than Moman has in the majority of his game. That's the joke for the French community.
But I mean, even then, it wasn't really enough to make a big difference just because Massa didn't particularly follow up behind this. But I can't help but wonder, because he doesn't even really seem to scout that much with his Overlords.
But it is hard to go into Cloak Benches, Todd, after a triple orbital opening.
FireCake, only, yeah, but you can delay your third orbital and get the Cloak Banshee instead, and then you're going to weaken his economy a lot. Right now, iaguz moved out and he's going to get rid of all of those roaches just using a bit of his bio. If you look at the Overlords that were made and sent out on the map, there is a single Overlord of FireCake around the natural of iaguz, and he's lost no Overlord. That means he's made no attempt to even check what was happening in the main of iaguz.
But I think iaguz has been doing great, though, Todd. All things considered, he hasn't really taken a whole lot of damage against those roaches. He has a massive economy going for himself. Yes, FireCake has a lot of drones, but he doesn't really have a whole lot of units right now. Baneling speed is very late because of his extremely late layer. So I think that this is the phase in the game where iaguz is supposed to get some good trades. But of course, that creep is scary. If there's one thing that, you know, FireCake has been extremely on top of, it is being his creep threat. You've been praising him for it already a little bit in the previous game, and this is no different, because if there's no creep over here, then iaguz just walks forward, cancels that port base, and maybe even try to get some trades against Zerglings and Banelings, because it's going to be slow Banelings for quite a while, and a player like iaguz, he's going to snipe slow Banelings for days, especially off creep.
It's funny here, actually, iaguz was going to go for it for a second, and then he remembered, I think, the previous game, and he started just pulling back, playing it a little bit safer, but right now he's going to get engaged into.
The Widow Mines doing a little bit of friendly fire. There's still a lot of banelings around, but like I said, slow banelings, not super intimidating. iaguz can pretty much unload the units.
Who's going to counter?
Nah, start pushing again. There's no way FireCake should counter off grid.
Needs to get rid of these Widow Mines. 11, 6 kills actually, not bad. The Spire is about halfway through, done a little bit more. He gets pneumatized Carapace, by the way, every single time very quickly. FireCake, he wants his overshifts to be much faster than otherwise.
Yeah, I can maybe send one tower to the forward bases of iaguz and start dropping a little bit of creep there so he always has vision. Right now, army supply is slightly in favor of iaguz. FireCake, his upgrades did finish up, but he started 2-2 himself immediately. Also has his Spire finishing up, so there's no way that he really wants to take a fight off creep. If he can sandwich the army of iaguz, that would be great, but he has to be very careful over here. This is a moment where FireCake is investing a lot in the later stage of the game. He's been saving a little bit of money. He's waiting for those Mutalisks, so he definitely doesn't want to fight here, but perhaps he's just scaring iaguz. You know, sometimes giving your opponent the idea that you want to take a fight is enough to buy enough time for yourself.
Just forward the mines, Rotterdam. He's gonna start burrowing them close to. And FireCake, every time he engages like this, he almost looks as if the Terran's not looking. But he lost so much. That big engagement here, and not many banelings are left over behind this.
Look at the economy again, Todd. He's on 92 drones. He's gonna have banelings and zerglings for days. If iaguz is not able to punish him right now, then it's gonna be so hard for iaguz to get good trades in the next few minutes. This really reminds me of a game that I casted a while ago between Red and U Thermal, where Red also went up to a ridiculous drone count, like obviously because it's Red, but like in that game it was, you know, like stereotype old school Red. And from this point on as a Zerg, you know, this is just happy times for a Zerg, because you're gonna rally Zerglings and banelings into the Terran army forever. But if there is one moment where iaguz can still, you know, like get things in his favor, it has to be now. He has an army supply advantage. He's putting on a lot of pressure on his fort base. He's getting reasonable trades here, and he's pushing FireCake back. If he takes out this hatchery, that would be amazing for iaguz.
And he's going to. FireCake evacuates, realizes he doesn't have enough on the ground to counter this massive amount of supply here, rejoining this. iaguz really went full bomber here. Look at this. 3 barracks on the third base. The factory between the natural and third base, his production is just brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, this was that one moment that iaguz absolutely had to win, though. Otherwise, there's almost no way to keep up with a Zerg. It's going to throw Zerglings and banelings at you from 89, 90 drones. It's still not over yet, because FireCake, he has like oversaturation now. He's just going to try to take his fort base at the 9 o'clock position instead. Maybe that would have been easier all along, by the way.
He's not even scanning the creep. Really bomber style.
I mean, the pre-split over here is phenomenal. He has a couple of Widow Mines in the mix as well, but FireCake still has quite a few banelings. He's getting reasonable connections. That mine, though, is saving the day over there as he's taking out 6-7 banelings. That one Marauder was about to soak all of them up anyway, but, you know, iaguz right now knocking on the front door of FireCake, standing in between the natural and the third base, and he has an overwhelming supply of army.
Yeah, army supply 100 to 43. I don't think that FireCake's going to be able to hold on much longer. His 2-2 upgrades kicked in too late, by the way.
Like right after that big fight at the fort base.
Exactly, so maybe he fought a little bit too early, but he didn't want to let iaguz set up. He was able to, and then from there iaguz just completely overpowering. Man, those medivacs, they've been working.
Yeah, they have been putting work, as most of them are out of energy, but the Marines are still alive. There's still Widow Mines complicating the life of FireCake even further. FireCake trying to squeeze out as many banelings as he can. Like, if he cleans this up, if he can somehow push his army back, because like the army supply, well, no, there's almost no way. There's 109 army supply for iaguz. This is indeed very bomberish-like. He's been stepping on creep. He's not been scanning forever. This is probably what Pig had in mind as well, and GG is called. iaguz wins game number 2 and gives FireCake his first loss of the day.
Very nicely played here. This time, the three command center looked a lot better. You know, he set up very nicely, and on this map, definitely much easier, obviously, than on Expedition Lost to set up that third.
Get knocked down the schooling towers, huh?
Oh God. I was about to mention it too when I saw it go down. I was like, hey, there goes your favorite building.
No, very well done. This time there were no counterattacks. I still kind of liked FireCake's position at a certain point. Like, if he would have won that, you know, that one fight out the fort base, if he would have been able to get a few banelings with slightly bigger connections than he actually had, then I think it could have all been different. If he wins one of those fights, and from that point on, I think it's going to be borderline impossible for the Terran to keep up against the Zerg that has had that many drones. But maybe this time, Todd, he played the game of drones, and he ended up on the wrong side of things.
When you play the game of drones,
you either win
or you die. I'm glad you knew that one.
Of course, it's a classic. I've been around. I haven't left the scene for other games.
I have no idea what you're talking about. FireCake doing a little bit of meditation here. Finally suffering his first map loss in this round of 32. Coda being the third map. You know, I talked a lot about how Coda looks and plays similarly to Echo, which we just saw I guess have a bit of success on.
But let's not forget that on Echo, FireCake did something that's a little bit different. He made way more roaches than he normally did, and he obviously wanted to get way more done with it. Like, I can't emphasize enough on how big of an investment that truly was. And that's, you know, I still love that logo, by the way, because it's such a great artist. But 10 roaches in that phase in the game, while delaying your layer that much and just not really getting anything done for it at all, most Zergs are going to have a very hard time clawing their way back into that game. 10 roaches. You need to get at least 6, 7, 8, 9 SCVs. He got almost nothing there. iaguz did a really great job.
I think they could have done more damage, to be honest. Like, he didn't really target that depot at the bottom that was being remade. If he targeted that and entered, he would have sniped a lot more SCVs.
I think he was a little bit indecisive on whether or not he wanted to sacrifice his roaches, but then in the end he gave a little too much time to iaguz. And when iaguz had 2, 3, 4 Marauders and Stim was ready and he had enough Marines, he just walked down the ramp, took care of all the roaches. He's like, all right, now it's my turn.
All right, here we go on Coda, the final map of this series. Remember, winner qualifies for Toronto, loser has to face Massa. Starting in the bottom right-hand side corner, playing as the blue Terran, it is Root iaguz.
Definitely a veteran, Todd. He's been around in the international circuit of StarCraft II for a long time. His first tournament appearance on foreign soil was in 2011. Of course, he doesn't go to every tournament, but he's been around the block. This man over here on the left up side of Coda, he's still a little newer to the scene, but he's been making one hell of an impression lately. It is FireCake. Since you've been playing StarCraft II since pretty much day one as well, Todd, or well, you started like maybe a few months later, but you've been around almost since the beta. When did FireCake really started to make some serious progress in his play? What was like the time that, you know, people in the front scene suddenly like, hey, this guy FireCake is actually a very strong Zerg. When was this?
Well, I'm not sure because I wasn't very familiar with him up until, you know, the point he appeared on the scene. But pretty much when he appeared on the scene, to be honest, he was pretty good right away. He was actually on Daybreak back in the days when a lot of people were playing like Broodlord Infestor and all that. He was playing with a lot of roaches and dropping them, and he did this famous interview for which he got made fun of a lot, in which he said, I'm going to revolutionize ZvP with drops and roaches. And so like it got mentioned many times, but it's funny because he actually did it really well. I lost to him many, many times on Daybreak and like on other maps when he was doing it. He was actually really strong because it negated sentries and force fields, which back then were like the number one thing you were doing against Zerg.
There was a time that Zerg drops were a little popular in ZvP. I remember a certain DreamHack where I think Dimaga played against Mana actually, and he tried to drop Zerglings and Banelings all the time in Mana's army, but that didn't go too well. And that's probably one of the reasons why we don't see it a whole lot anymore. But you know, Todd, Legacy of the Void, it's coming, and maybe FireCake will still bring us that revolution that we've been waiting for.
It seems like he's not trying to revolutionize anything anymore. He's just, you know, playing some very solid, some very effective Zerg, just generally speaking. And I feel like with his Overlord this game, he's already scattered more than in all of the previous maps that he's played. But
he does have a very distinctive playstyle though, Todd. Like, he plays in a very unique way, has his own approach to this matchup. And, you know, at the end, you can always say, like, well, he still has Zerglings and Banelings and Mulers, right? It can't be, like, that different. But there are so many different ways to get to that stage in the game. And the way that FireCake does it, while always opening up Gasless first and getting a couple roaches, that is definitely, like, his kind of go-to opening.
Yes.
And, you know, of course, you know, a Gasless opening is not new in this matchup.
Oh, you said you wanted to see a 3 Reaper against FireCake.
Yeah, well, this is Coda. It's one of the best Reaper maps out there. I've been also pretty vocal about that. I think in the current map pool, this may very well be the best Reaper map. Right? Well, Inferno pool, so Inferno pool is pretty good. But how often do we truly see that?
It's always veto. It doesn't count.
Game 7 of the finals. All right.
Save it for the best.
Saving the best for last, baby. Close position Inferno pools. You know, he's following this up with a triple orbital once again, though.
This time spotted immediately here by FireCake. If he was to do like something like a roach attack this time, don't you think like it'd be a real threat.
Yeah,
for
especially
iaguz.
with the triple Reaper opening, of course, that is slowing down the, the additional production of iaguz down quite a bit. I do think it was so important that he had the Overlord in the position where he had it, because now he knew immediately that he was playing against a triple Reaper opening. And I'm sure this is not the first time. Oh, I love this. Love it. Oh, well, okay, he didn't want to overstay his welcome. At least he got one of the 2 creep tumors, and early on, that is very frustrating.
He's spreading down the ramp. It's going to be
Yeah.
almost impossible in this game.
As a Zerg, you just want to take care of that as quickly as possible, and he didn't. And look at that follow-up, by the way, Todd. It seems like, iaguz is just making both walls happy very well. I was wondering about the Triple Reaper. You were wondering about those quick Banshees. Well, with the late layer that FireCake has been going for, there is a good chance that we are going to see a little bit of Cloak Banshee action over here.
I wonder if FireCake is getting the Roadrunner as a safety in case there's going to be like Hellbats behind this, or if he actually wants to go for an attack, because he's still droning up like a madman. Man, why didn't he go for like 14 roaches or some small number like this to go across the map and try and do some damage?
A small number of 14 roaches?
Yeah, man.
You've had terrible things happen to you when it comes to roaches, isn't it, Todd? You face some maxed out roach armies over here. He's making a couple roaches, but the Overlord, very important to mention, the Overlord of FireCake did go in, Todd, and he did get caught a glimpse of that starport. He also saw the tech lab, so there's a very good chance that FireCake is going to throw down a Spore Crawler or 2 and make sure that he's going to have an easier time defending against these Banshees than he had on Vani Research Station. Despite winning that game, he lost 21 drones, and that is, in general, a few more drones than you want to lose against a Cloak Banshee opening.
Yeah, it's 40 to 45 drones to 32 SCVs right now, so not doing too bad. It almost feels as if iaguz kind of needs to do some damage here, because otherwise FireCake is going to keep on taking off in that Walker camp. There's nothing in the main for the defense here for FireCake, and 3 Reapers made their way there. He's evacuating to the natural, but that needs even more drones to be roasted by the Hellions.
Yeah.
What? 14 drones already died.
And the Reapers are not even here yet. 17 drones. These Hellions getting a few more very good shots off. And these Reapers still going to town as well. A couple of very low HP. iaguz being relentless over here. He might get 21 drones as well. Maybe 22. The dream. He gets 22 drones.
And before the Banshee ever got there.
Well, FireCake, it's safe to say that he has his work cut out for him over here.
Yeah.
He's droning up behind this, but now the Banshee follow-up, and he has to know about this Banshee follow-up though. He does have that Spore. Did he even start his layer yet? He doesn't. No, oh my god, these Banshees. Oh, iaguz, that's terrible.
That looked like one of my oracles.
Okay, that is very unfortunate, because, I mean, this Banshee can still do a lot of work. If it just sits in between, it can get a lot of drones that will be in transit, because this layer, this layer is like,
It's non-existent, basically.
Yeah. What is something we've been waiting for a very, very long time, Todd? Something that's very good. Californication Season 9. No, he's going to lose the Banshee in the middle of the map. Okay, and that even had Cloak. A little bit unfortunate there for iaguz, losing one of his Banshees, perhaps getting a little excited. Of course, he's aware of the fact as well, how many drones did he kill, Like, he knows that this was fantastic.
Yeah.
23 workers have gone down, perhaps getting shaken up a little bit over here.
53 drones against 51 SCVs. This is usually the time FireCake has 60 or 70 plus drones.
Oh man, like imagine if he would still have that second Banshee, Todd. He just puts that second Banshee in the main base between the natural and the main. He can just start working on his evolution chambers, and then if FireCake would be forced to uproot one of his Spore Crawlers, reposition it, then he can start working on queens and stuff like that. That may open up a window of opportunity to start working on drones. I can't emphasize enough on how big of a mistake that was for iaguz. Like if iaguz will end up losing this game, he's gonna look back and it's like, oh my god, why did I fly that Banshee into the Spore Crawler? And then why did I lose it? Like he was waiting obviously for the second Banshee to show up.
I don't think he picked up on the fact that there was no layer started yet. Just probably assumed he did, and he kind of missed it, even though he had vision of these 2 hatcheries. Sometimes happens.
But he knows that like FireCake's layers are late in general. That's probably the reason why he's going for Cloak Banshees, and you also mentioned it.
The FireCake macro hatch, man, is just a perfect placement.
I was like, where is it? I was like looking at the map. I couldn't even find it.
Right into the fight. They're gonna make units.
All right. Well, he's actually, iaguz is moving out with a couple of Marines in the middle of the map, just taking out a couple of these crypto wares. We've mentioned this before on Coda. Getting control of that Zelnaga watchtower is extremely important if you play Terran. You want to have that sort of as a staging ground, and you don't want to see that middle of the map be covered by creep already. FireCake has done a good job in re-establishing a pretty strong economy. He's back to 76 drones, but his real tech Spire, I'm not even sure when he's supposed to get a Spire right now. He knows he's going to have a very hard time just holding on against those first waves of Marines, Marauders, and Widow Mines.
iaguz, he wants to go for the same pain train as last game. Look at those 3 barracks on the 3rd base. They're going to be able to help reinforce faster. The 2nd factory was made in the main, though.
Man, iaguz, our Australian Terran, he has won a WCS Premier League round of 32 group before. That was in Season 3 of 2014. He was very close to advancing in Season 1 of 2015 as well. It came down to the final game against Maxset back then. Going into this group, he was not a favorite for me. I don't think he was a favorite for a lot of people. Even some Team Liquid predictions were being made, and he was joking around about it on Twitter. He's like, I'm very happy Team Liquid predicted me not to make it out of this group, considering the fact they've been wrong very frequently lately. You know, he's just kind of having a little bit of friendly banter, but things are looking good for him over here on Coda. He's not there just yet. He still has to do, you know, that game-ending damage, but a Terran being up 30 supply in this phase in the game, you know, the Spire not even being done yet. You gotta love iaguz's position right now.
Yeah, army supply 105 to 67. FireCake with just, well, I say just, it's still a sizable number of Banelings with 20, but I mean, 54 Marines and 7 Marauders at the front, 9 Widow Mines. Those Widow Mines could get rid of all the Banelings by themselves and all the links as well.
Okay, FireCake is going to fire up 14, 15 Milisk over here, I think at least, yes.
Well, the drop in the main with the Spore, very nicely made here. FireCake, every time, like there is a weak point against drop, and he knows he's going to be dropped there. He leaves some spores, and they've done a great job for him.
Yeah, Vani had spores in excellent position as well against Massa. But still, this push over here on the right-top side of the map, this is going to be very difficult to engage. Like you mentioned, there are so many Widow Mines, and one of the first mines connects with the majority of the Banelings of FireCake. FireCake is doing a good job in cleaning up forces over there on the north side, though, but is it enough? I mean, soon the Milisk will show up as well. If you can clean up those mines, then he's going to have easier time. Yeah, oh my god.
All those mines are reloading right now.
It's not just that, this 4th hatchery is starting to run very low on HP. FireCake does not want to end up losing it. iaguz is just going to click on it instead, and he will take out this hatchery. But of course, he's going to pay the price for it as well. He's losing a couple of these medevacks. Ooh, that medevac even going down with 4 or 5 units still in it. There are a few mines left. I feel in the end this went okay for FireCake. Despite losing that 4th base, he does clean everything up over here on the right-top side of the map. And look at the army supply tab suddenly thought. FireCake takes the lead.
Losing the 4th base was very important, though, and behind this, iaguz has 55 army supply. Oh, he's actually still a bit ahead in army supply. He has his own 4th base he's working on. FireCake restarted the classic reflex, you know, you lose your 4th base, you start it on the other side. We all got that, even the Protosses.
There are not too many turrets yet up, I believe, on the south side of the map. Let's take a look real quick. Now, he left a bunker behind in the 3rd base, but he doesn't have a whole lot of turrets. A single turret in the main, a single turret in the natural. Like, once FireCake can truly start harassing with these Milisk, I think he's going to have a field day. He's going to be able to snipe that single turret that there is. He's going to be able to intercept reinforcements, maybe pick off a medevac, maybe
go for the
start
add-ons.
working on those reactors indeed.
Ooh, iaguz reacted a bit late here on that, but the repair is going to be enough. I think that add-on on the starport is asking to die. FireCake dives right back in there.
Good Milisk micro. Actually saves all of them, despite eating so many shots of those missile turrets. iaguz is like, he's moving forward in the middle of the map, Todd. He doesn't want to deal with this. He doesn't want to give FireCake too much time.
But there's so many links and Banelings. 82 links and 23 Banelings. I think that's enough to basically defend against this army of iaguz here in the middle of the map.
He throws down a scan. He at least took care of a couple of those people.
Big supply block, by the way, for FireCake. He's starting 5 overlords at a time. He has a lot of minerals and gas.
I bet he will queue up 2 more. That's what everybody does. It's like, I'm still supply block. Did I start an overlord? I should get one over. Maybe he doesn't. Damn it. Just when I predicted something, Todd. Anyway, these trades are going very well for FireCake in the middle of the map. Doesn't have to worry about that supply block anymore, as he's freed up a little bit of supply. But he's taking care of a lot of fire units. He did end up losing a few Milisk throughout this game.
iaguz is about to commit massively to this attack, I think, even though he just started 3-3 as well. The Widow Mines are not set up. I don't think there is even that many. There is only 5 and they're not there.
And most of these bio units are very clumped up as well, Johan. I think this is going very well for FireCake. He did lose a lot of Milisk before, but now he's actually going to push iaguz all the way back. Despite losing his 4th base earlier, he's starting to be in a pretty okay position. Has to be careful that he doesn't overcommit, even though he's taking commanding army supply lead. He's even going to be able to pick up the Tor over here, and this is not a planetary fortress just yet. So iaguz is struggling a little bit right now. FireCake lost 21 drones earlier today, still won the game. In this game he lost 23 drones, and now again he's 45 supply ahead.
It's the classic mistake, man. You don't kill drones early on because you anger your opponents. And then he plays out of his mind and win the games. iaguz right now with 55 army supply against 75. FireCake's really gonna get in there with the Lynx and Mutas, but he has a few Banelings coming in from behind. The Widowman's out of position. For iaguz, he's just dying here.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much Zerg, and it's just not going to stop. A lot of Banelings rolling in this, they're going through the SimCity as well. Has to be careful that he doesn't misclick on one of these Rexes, but he doesn't. Connects with a bunch of SMBs. iaguz supply is plummeting, got extremely close to taking this series. I think he put himself in a great position earlier on, but in the end, FireCake is going to be the player that will win Group G. Definitely was spending probably there a little bit in game number 3, but he ends up winning this group, becoming the 3rd French player to qualify for WCS Premier League round of 16.
What a fit race, man. It happens. The Frenchies are taking over.
Wow, what a wild game. I'm definitely very interested to see what the boys have to say about that, what FireCake has to say about that series. And I think if I was iaguz right now, I'm still thinking about that second Banshee. I'm not saying that that's truly where it went wrong, but I think with 2 Cloak Banshees, he could have done so much follow-up damage. After that great start with the Reapers and the Hellions, he was setting himself up to do even more damage with those 2 Banshees, not doing anything with it. I don't think it was the end of the world yet. It was kind of a missed opportunity. But I think then at that fight on the right top side of the map, I think that's when things truly spiraled out of control. You know, we often emphasize on how important that forward base is in this matchup. And if Terran is able to snipe it, that's great for Terran. But you know, there is a limit to what you can afford to snipe. And despite the fact that he had so many Widowmites set up, I think FireCake did a very good job in engaging that army in the right top side of the map, took care of all the Marines. He got the Metavex as well. And I think despite losing that base, that was still very good for him.
So sending in a Banshee into a Spore basically lost him the game, is what you're saying. Now I understand why every time I fly an Oracle into a Spore or a Widowmine, I lose after.
No, you just leave that. Anyways, FireCake is on the desk with the boys, and I'm very curious to see what our our winner of Group G has to say about his performance today, and in particular, this last series he just played.
Here with FireCake, congratulations, our 13th player from the round of 32 to make it Toronto, Canada. Back-to-back top 16 finishes now. You know, very, very competitive, very successful in these last couple of seasons. Really starting to make your mark on the European scene, now the international scene. I just want to dive straight into it. That last map. I mean, you lost a lot of drones at the start. You were playing from a behind position. Talk to us about what you were thinking during that. It was, iaguz was starting to run away with the series.
I think I was in a terrible spot, and I saw since the first game, I was already starting to play very bad. I almost lost the first game because I didn't do well my injection. So I was a bit worried for the next games, especially the last one, because I didn't want to play Massa again. But yeah, it was tense, and finally I win.
Your country, 3 out of 3 French players now going through to the season finals. It's the second highest represented country at the season finals, obviously behind Korea here. How are you feeling about traveling with Lil Bo Marie-Lord to represent France there?
I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, I hope I will not play against him, but that's all. I think they will do very well in the round of 16 because they practice a lot and they practice together. So yeah, I think we will do something very good together.
France going to get a very good result then at the season finals? Pick?
Some very, very impressive games there. I did want to ask you, you said you had some tricks up your sleeve in the earlier interview, and then you played very standard. You did very similar builds, but you did it just so well. Were there any changes there? I didn't seem to notice much. Or were you just confident in that style?
No, indeed, I got an information just before the match, and I know iaguz knew my style. So I knew I couldn't try my special build, so I prefer to stay on very classic builds.
Okay, well done. I did also want to ask you one last question about your creep spread. It is absolutely amazing. Do you think that makes up for maybe when you take these losses? Do you really think it's the creep spread that allows you to get back in the game? Because you also seem very good at taking engagements. Do you think that goes hand in hand?
Yes, but I'm trading a good creep spread for bad economy because, of course, I have a good creep spread because I make queens earlier with my 15 pools. So I have a better creep spread, but I have a worse economy. But yes, I play a lot with the creep because in the late game, this is all is around creeps because you only engage on creeps. So yes.
Fantastic answer. Thank you very much, FireCake.
Yeah, thank you, FireCake. Congratulations to FireCake, first place finisher of Group G this evening. And we'll be heading to Toronto come June the 26th and 28th. That leaves us with one final match of the evening. We could have a quick look at the bracket to see that final match. It is going to be a team kill between Root Gaming's iaguz and Massa. A Terran versus Terran to wrap up the evening. Which player will get that plane ticket? There's only one left available for tonight's group. When we come back from the break, we'll find out.
I move objects with my mind.